Forgot to plug the microphone in. Good morning, everybody. Selling off the reverse foil guard of war for $10. Okay, so now I've got the microphone on, so now that's a proper greeting. Good morning, everybody. So for $265, it took a little bit longer, but there were a couple people at the booth. But a bunch of different promos, Ash's Pikachu hats, a couple of other ones. Mars Shadows, a really good one. Gold Mewtwo, and a couple other promos. Even some not staff stamps, but they're like stamps from Ultra Prism. And as I said, $265. Selling off the Eevee from Twilight Masquerade. The illustration's always really awesome with the different Eevee illusions in there. So, well, they're not evolutions, but either way, it's going away for $47. All right, I haven't done enough recording right now, but selling off the full the SIR, excuse me, for Mischief, and then the reverse foil routes altogether for $33. All right, so after what feels like a couple of hours, I had been so busy at the booth. So with all of this here, I won't be able to go through it individually, but they were getting our Espeon EX full art and then the IR Sizzler, and it was like an even trade for $84. Thanks for the deal. All right, I hadn't been recording too much today, but we are selling off a bunch of packs, a little bit of vintage and modern, and all together for $80. So it's hard to believe, but all of the Journey Togethers are now gone. We had sold every last one of them in the last hour, and they're also getting some other raws, but it was an even 100 for everything here. So people, if you have packs, sell me Journey Together, please. All right, so picked up pretty much all MP quality. The most expensive is the Black Star Venusaur. That one, first time ever picking it up at the show, and we basically gave them $95 cash for all of it together. Okay, so it took a little bit longer, and I do apologize about the audio. It's still very loud, but we owed them $51 on top, and they were picking up a decent amount. There's like some Chinese, some other imports, and then it's kind of a little bit hard to go through, but I'll go through it later. But it was like a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! Stuff from PC and also some simplified Chinese tags. So again, we owed them $51 on top. So the microphone is dead. I do apologize, by the way. So overall, it took a little bit longer, and today's been really long trade day, but they're picking up the sealed stamps that we have in here. Then they're grabbing a decent amount of like Crown Zenith vintage Japanese, and they are basically trading us all these. Again, I'll go through all that later, and they owed us $50 on top. The audio is still very bad at the moment, but there is a very big stack of cards from one of my regulars, and we didn't have enough cash to cover it, but we are giving them 110, the Stormy V, and then they're getting one of their Eevees. There's my finger in the camera. So they basically did even trade cash deal on top. Thanks. So this was my bad. I do apologize. There was a vendor that spotted it at the bottom of the card, and unfortunately there is a spot where it was a little crease, not like too damaged on it, but you can kind of see it in the white. But I didn't catch it, so unfortunately I will have to adjust my price on it. So they brought that back, and they are picking up the Charizard EX, and I took 90 off of that, and then we agreed on 140, and they gave the cash back that I gave them earlier. So thank you for the deal, man. Alrighty, so we're pretty much at the last bit of the day, last hour. So selling off the Lily illustration, or full art, I forget what they call it, but it is going away for $45 to one of my regular vendor friends. They're usually over there, but they're this way. But it is pretty much close to the end of the day. This is the last thing I picked up. I hadn't really paid attention to what the price of these are, but these are basically the original Entei promos from back in like 2001, I want to say. But yeah, factory sealed. One of the vendor friends from like in the corner sold it to us for about $42 each, so they pretty much did a deal for $125 for a ball. So yeah, we got stuff to sell tomorrow. All right, we're back outside. After pretty much everything else that happened, there was like around $5, and then there was like an additional $50. My neighbor wanted some stuff, so he got the Lily's card, and then he ended up buying around $50 more, so that was well close to like $100. So pretty good first day. Tomorrow is gonna hopefully be busy for us because I gotta go through all of that and get it like updated and priced. So with that being said, I'm going to head back home, and I will see you guys back for day 2. So glary on there. I don't know if it can work, but there we go. All right, good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. Back over at Dayton again, and we are still working on a lot of the inventory stuff. I can't really point to it right there in that little footage there. So far, I hadn't really had much time to reorganize the booth because we slept late. Got up at like 8 o'clock when I usually get up at 7. So right now I'm just doing that. I did put in more stuff for the binders, so all of that's been reorganized, and we even got the more Pecco V-Union. It's kind of hard to see on this side, but other than that, we don't really have anything else going on. I don't know how busy it will be today, but if it's anything like yesterday, then this will be pretty much a really good way to kick off for the new year. But as always, I'll let you guys know what new stuff we get sold or bought or whatever it is. But anyways, we'll see you guys back in a quick sec. So I still can't get away from these cards. Why? We just got one of the first PSA 10s for one that's not as expensive as the other ones, but these, I always like being able to get them, especially if they're PSA 10. So we gave the gentleman that was at the booth earlier around $72 in cash on it. So honestly, first really big pickup for the booth, aside from the other one, which I'll show later. Selling off the PSA 10 Gengar that we had last weekend and going away for $85. It's been a minute since we recorded, but selling off the Magurnia illustration and going away for $20. We're at the end point of the show, and we've had this for a while, but we got this down to 105 for somebody because of that. And being a video game collector, if you know about these are pretty collectible now. I forget how many of them there are, but these were the original Blockbuster Pokemon Snap kiosk cards. So ended up getting 2 of them for my PC, and then they owed me 105 on top. So I wasn't expecting video game stuff for the end of the day. All right, it is late in the evening. Well, not very late. I just got to unpack and still walking out of the mall. The show was fine. To be honest, it was a lot more busier than I thought it was going to be, because last month, because of like the snowstorms, it was like a very bad spot for us. So I think that it pretty much killed it, and we ended up getting a few extra things. So honestly, I was very happy about that. But that's pretty much it here from Dayton. It feels weird that we're doing this not at the end of the month, but for like pretty much the second week. And honestly, this was a good show to go to. So I cannot wait for the next one. We're going to try to help Dan out because he needs better help with his advertisement for it, because let's try to do nothing related to AI art. But love you guys. Thank you to everybody who dropped by the booth this weekend. It was great to see everybody, some old faces new, and thank you for subscribing if you're new to the channel. But that's it. I'm going to go ahead and make my way back home, and as always, you know how we pretty much end all of these videos. Stay strong, stay positive, and of course, love ya. Have a good one.